Hello everyone and welcome to another video. So in today's video we are going to be looking at how to create mockups using billboards. So for this tutorial it's a billboard mockup, except what's different in today's tutorial compared to the previous tutorials on the product packaging and also the t-shirt is that we are going to be creating the mockup ourselves from just plain images. Okay, so there's not going to be a predefined smart object. It's not going to be any predefined layer. Everything is going to be created ourselves. We're going to be creating all of those smart objects ourselves by just using plain images. Okay, so inside of the Google Drive link, I have already provided two pictures of billboards. The first one is just the conventional billboards, and then the other one is a digital billboard. So we are going to try and achieve some kind of digital screen effect over here, and I'm also going to be showing you two methods to create a mockup, at least for this billboard here. Okay, the simple method, and then the other one which is more complex. I will tell you the pros and cons and when you should use all of this, when you should use these methods to create your mockups. Okay, first things first, you can go ahead to the Google Drive link, to the Google Drive folder, and download all of these assets here. You can also download two fonts, which is dot matrix over here and also open24 display. That's because if you look at the sample file that you can find in the Google Drive link, I did actually use a digital kind of font for like a digital display. Okay, so once you have everything set up, open up Photoshop, and you can open this image up by simply going Control Open, or you can go Control O, or going to File and hit Open, and you can just directly open up the JPEG file. Okay, so this is a complete JPEG file, not a PSD file yet. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and recap how to create the simple mockup here. Okay, first things first, once you have this mockup over here, let's go ahead and create a rectangle. Okay, using the rectangle tool, and just have your fill color to be white. And what I want you to do now is to just create a rectangle that is approximately as big as this billboard here. So it doesn't have any actual or accurate value that you have to follow, or accurate technique to create this rectangle. Just create something that's you see yourself with your eyes if the shape of the rectangle matches approximately with the shape of the billboard here. For example, if I create a shape that is this size here, well, that will look quite weird because this is too long and too short, and it doesn't really match with the billboard at the back here. Okay, so just eyeball it, create something that looks just about appropriate. Okay, something like that. Okay, it doesn't really have to be properly sized or accurate. Just follow what your eye see. Okay, if you see that it matches the size of the billboard, then for the most part it's already enough. Okay, once you have your shape here, I want you to go ahead and do one of two things. Either lower the transparency by going to opacity over here and lower the transparency to say 50 or 40% so that you can see the billboard behind you. Okay, this is essential and important because we are going to be using the billboard behind us, okay, to to resize this rectangle into that billboard later. So you need to have some kind of guide. So if your shape is completely opaque like this, you cannot see behind it, so it's going to be harder for you to see the lines of the actual billboard image. Or you can, instead of lowering the opacity, you can go ahead and straight away remove the fill color and just use a stroke color. You can use a color that's contrasting with the background. So I'm using red for this specific image here. So because it is contrasting, lower the stroke width a little bit, and as long as you can see the lines of the rectangle and the lines of the billboard image, that is already enough. Okay, once you are done with this, you are happy with the sizing, and also you are happy with the appearance of the rectangle here, let's convert this rectangle into a smart object. Because if you still remember, in every single mockup that I have shown you before, the product packaging and also the shirt mockup, every one of them has a smart object, and that is the basis for that essentially is the basis for mockups. Most mockups will have a smart object. Okay, so to do that, you can go ahead to the layers panel. Okay, and if you click on the rectangle, you will see that this symbol or icon beside the rectangle name here is actually that shape or that symbol, which indicates that this layer is a shape layer. So to convert it into a smart object, simply right click on the name and select convert to smart object, and that will convert your layer or your shape into a smart object, and you can see the smart object symbol over there. And similarly to other previous mockups, if you double click on rectangle 1 now, it's going to open the rectangle up inside of a PSB file, which is the embedded project file. Okay, so the same way like every other mockup before. Okay, once you're done, once you have converted this into a smart object, now we can go ahead and distort the perspective of this rectangle to fit into the billboard. Make sure you convert this rectangle into a smart object first before you perform this action, or else your mockup will not work properly. Okay, once you're done, convert this into a smart object. Hold Control on your keyboard while using the selection tool. Okay, hold Control on your keyboard and just click on either one of these points on the rectangle, and just move them into place until this rectangle fits into the billboard. Okay, you can be as precise as you want or just as thorough as you want. I'm just going to do this quickly, okay, because I've already shown you in class. First things first, I already have demonstrated this in class. You just need to move this until the shape just snaps into the billboard approximately. And once you are happy, just hit enter to confirm the shape. And you'll see that the rectangle now has already been cropped or has already been warped or distorted into the perspective billboard here. Okay, once you're done, you basically have the smart object set up for this project, and everything else from here is just going to follow the same exact thing that we did before with all previous mockups, which is just double click on the smart object, go here, you can just go ahead and put in your design, and once you are done designing, you can save, and your design will be reflected on this billboard here. Okay, so I'm just going to show you quickly how to create the design like in the sample project that I've given, or the sample image that I've given. And to do that, okay, first of all, let's open up the rectangle here, and what I want you to do now is to go ahead and create a new layer and delete rectangle 1, because if you see, rectangle 1 still has that symbol, which means this is not an empty layer, it is a shape layer, and we don't want any shape layers here. So just delete, and make sure you only just have layer 1 here. Once you're done, go to this icon here to add a fill or adjustment layer. Okay, click on that symbol and simply add a solid color, because in the reference on the sample file that I've given, the background color is just completely white. Okay, we're just going to try and create a minimal design for this billboard here. Okay, so with that solid color selected, you can now just change it to white and hit OK. Now you already have a background color. Now, before we go ahead and play around with the object, which is the ice cream image, let's just create our text layer. Okay, to create a text layer, first of all, use your text tool. For the text layer, I'm not really going to be going too detailed into this, because you have already done this in every single project, in fact. Okay, so simply choose your fonts here. For example, I'm going to be using a font called Leto Black. Okay, I haven't included this, but by the time that this video comes out, Leto Black should or the Leto font family should be included inside of the Google Drive link. Okay, so Leto Black regular here. Alright, and go ahead and type in your text. I'm just going to change the color to a dark blue, some sort of dark blue color here. Okay, so click anywhere and just type in your text. Except what I want you to do is, instead of typing the whole thing according to the reference image, leave the numbers out. So 37, like 37 degrees out inside of the sample file, just leave it out. And I want you to just type in the rest of the word in this manner here. For example, reasons to refresh yourself. So reasons 2, and then go to the next line, refresh yourself. Okay, so leave the number 37 for the temperature out, because we are going to do that in a separate text layer. Okay, once you are done with this, I'm going to change the color a little bit more, maybe something like that fits. Okay, once you are done, make sure your alignment is set to left align the text. Okay, make sure everything is aligned to the left. And what you can do now is go ahead and maybe resize this to become a little bit smaller. And I want you to hit space until you create, some space on the left side here to put in the number. So 37 reasons to refresh yourself. So you want that space to put in that text. Okay, so maybe somewhere around there. And if you want things to be more, to be more uniform, to look better for this text layer, you can go ahead and resize reasons 2 and make it a little bit bigger so it just fits the entire thing. So something like that will do. Okay, once you're done, just put your text over here and just align it somewhere like that. Okay, alright, so if you save this, it will by right reflect the changes on your final billboard. So that's how it should look like at the end of the day. Okay, but we're not done yet, so let's go back to the original design file. Okay, rectangle1.psb, and let's go ahead and create the font or the text for the temperature reading. Okay, so what I'm trying to emulate here is a billboard that has a digital temperature reader. So as the temperature around the billboard changes, for example, if it gets hotter in the day or if it gets colder in the day, then this value will change. So the hotter it gets, so the more reasons for people to, get your ice cream. Okay, so to create that, first of all, go to your rectangle tool, okay, and create a rectangle that is black in color. You can make it completely square or a little bit, a little bit irregular like that. So I'm just going to create something like this, okay, and resize it as you see fit. And for this one, I'm just going to position it over here, okay, somewhere over there. I'm just doing a really rough job here. You can be as detailed as you want. Okay, once you have your rectangle, use your text tool again, but this time create another text layer. Okay, don't overwrite this one, because if you do this, if you try to write the temperature reading inside of the same text layer, it's going to throw off the alignment altogether. So just click anywhere to create a new text layer and just type in your temperature reading. For example, maybe 37. This is what I used for the sample file. Okay, and once you're done, you can just go ahead and change the font to the digital font. Okay, either dot matrix or open24. You can play around with the fonts, but the one that I use specifically is dot matrix bold. So this is the font that I used. Okay, and the color, make it something yellow, red, or orange, something in that spectrum of color, because usually LEDs for road signs, LEDs in the middle of the road is going to be this color, so it's easier for people to see. So something like that works. Okay, so once you're done, just hit OK and reposition this text onto the rectangle or the square here. Okay, and make sure you just fix the alignment so that, fix the arrangement so that the rectangle is sitting below your text layer. Okay, like so. Let's see. Okay, good. Alright, so you can resize the text, maybe make it smaller or bigger if you want. Okay, I'm just gonna make it a little bit smaller just to leave space for that degree symbol. Okay, maybe somewhere over there. Okay, and for the degree symbol, because this is a custom special font, it doesn't actually come with special characters like the degree symbol, copyright symbols, all of that stuff. So what you can do is to just go ahead and use the ellipse tool. Okay, create a perfect circle, okay, just for the degree symbol, and then something like that. Okay, and change the color to become to have a similar color like the number here, and then just move your circle until it goes on top of the on top of the text here. Okay, so if it's sitting below the below this this black rectangle here, just arrange it until it sits on top and put it somewhere over there. Okay, and maybe make it a little bit smaller. Like I said, be as detailed as you want. Alright, so once you're done, essentially you're done with the text. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to be applying some distortions or some effects to this text here to make it look like an LED display, because realistically LED displays are not flat like this. They have like some kind of glow, and then they have some kind of noise and like distortions here, because cameras don't take digital screens well, so it's going to have a little bit of distortion. And to do that, you can go ahead and select your text layer on the layers panel here. Okay, go to the FX panel here and select where is it? Okay, select outer glow. Okay, and that's going to give you that glow. Because I have already done this, well, this is the 4th time, including the ones that I did in class. So all of these settings here are the settings that that I have already, well, the preset setting for this project. So if you want to follow, then you can just follow this setting here, pause the video and change your settings accordingly. So essentially what you want to do is to just change the blend mode to normal and control your opacity. The important thing is to sell off this effect is to increase your noise level a little bit so it gets noisy, and then change your color, the color of the glow, to match the color of your text. Well, at least you can do exactly like that, okay, or you can just make it a little bit softer or a little bit darker. Okay, depends on what you are trying to achieve. And don't forget to play around with the spread and also the size. Okay, once you're done, simply hit OK. And once you're done, you should have that effect here for the LED sign. Okay, and don't forget to apply the same thing to your circle there, because that circle is on a different layer. So select ellipse 1 here, go to FX and hit outer glow. It should repeat the same exact setting. Okay, so that's how it should look. Alright, so once you're done, hit OK, and for the text, you are essentially done. Okay, next thing we'll do is just something that you have done before, which is to just import your product logo in here. So go to File, okay, place Embedded, and then find your product logo. I have included in the Google Drive link, so product-logo.ai, and then place it as a smart object and just resize it and put it on the very bottom here. Okay, like so. Alright, so once you're happy with this, you can save this and see how the changes are being reflected on your actual billboard. Okay, the final thing to do before we move on to the digital billboard is we are going to look at how to, well, properly crop images in Photoshop. This is just an extra thing for you. If you already know how to crop stuff in Photoshop, you can just ignore this part and just skip. But it's essential for those who are not really familiar with how background removal and cropping works in Photoshop. Okay, so let's crop the ice cream photo. So go to File, Open, or Control O, and I want you to open up either one of the ice cream images that I have provided. Okay, I'm using this chocolate ice cream thing, but if you want to use the ice cream cone there, then that is your choice. Okay, but I'm just going to follow exactly like the reference I've given. So it's this one over here. So open it up, and by default it should be just an image file. Okay, so just an image file, and the background is not cropped. So to start cropping, there are multiple ways that you can crop your image, but I'm just going to straight away go to the proper way that I want to show you for the image cropping here, which is by using the object selection tool. Okay, in class I have already shown you how to crop using eraser tool, how to crop using magic wand, and also how to crop using the quick selection tool. But for this one, I'm just going to straight away go ahead and show you how to do it using the proper tool for the latest version of Photoshop. That is much easier for you and gives you more control. Okay, the most control really. Okay, so what I want you to do now is to unlock your background. So click on the padlock icon on the layers panel to unlock the background. Make sure everything is unlocked, and then go ahead and select the object selection tool over here. Okay, by default it should be the quick selection tool or the magic wand. So what you can do is to just right click on the quick selection tool and make sure you select object selection. Okay, now with the object selection tool selected, it is as simple as just hovering your mouse on the object. So if you hover your mouse on the background, it's going to crop the background, or at least it's going to show you what happens if you try to crop the background. So if you hover on the subject, in our case the ice cream here, it's going to create well, it's going to do its best, you know, to create this selection here. But for the most part, object selection tool uses a much smarter AI compared to magic wand and quick selection, so it's going to properly do it for the most part, okay, even for complex objects. So once your object is selected like this, just single click to create the selection, okay, and you should have those dots moving around your object, so that means that the selection has already been made. Okay, so once you're done, what I want you to do, using the object selection tool, go on top and find this option here, select and mask. It should be on the very top here, so select that option to open up the select and mask window. By default, it should show onion skin over here, and you should not, you should just see this you know, just this white background here. And if you want to, you know, view your croppings properly, if you want to see the edges being cropped out properly, you can just change the view mode in the properties here from onion skin to overlay, and that will give you this red background around the image or around this ice cream here, that shows you which part of the ice cream has been cropped out and which has not been cropped out. For the most part, this is already good, but if you want to refine the selection or the cropping even more, you can go ahead and change the value for the edge detection. Okay, so for example, if you look at where I'm hovering my mouse here, you should see that even though it has been cropped, there are some, you know, these white line here that's that spans across the ice cream here. If you want to make the white lines disappear and just create a very sharp cropping, you can just increase the radius in the edge detection, and the line should disappear. Okay, so play around with the values there. You can also play around with the smoothness, the feather, and also the contrast. Okay, so play around until you get something that you like. So I'm already happy with this. So once you're done, go all the way down, scroll all the way down to output. And for the output, the safest way to do is to just go on the drop down menu and select new layer with layer mask. So this is a non-destructive way for you to edit or crop stuff in Photoshop. For example, if you want to bring the background back a little bit more later on, you can use the layer mask. Okay, but I'm not going to show you here because I'm just going to speed through the Billboard tutorial, which is the actual point of the video. Okay, once you're done, hit OK, and your object should be cropped. Okay, and if you want to check if the object has been cropped or not, you can just go ahead and add a solid color. You can use whatever color that you want, but for croppings, I always use red because the red contrasts with a lot of things. So you can just put the solid color below your cropped object and you should see the cropping being done there. Okay, so if you're not happy, you can go ahead and refine your selection for the, you know, cropped edges. Okay, that is that for the cropping. Once you're done, go ahead and select the layer that has been cropped. In our case, it's layer 0 copy here that has this white and black layer mask here. Make sure to select this and just hit Ctrl C to copy. Okay, and paste it in your original design file. Okay, you should not have this warning here. I have this warning because I was playing around with the color profile and document profile just now. So by default, it should just paste right away for you. And if you have pasted this successfully, you can, if you want to follow the sample file, you can just increase the size a little bit more and just put this ice cream just peeking through the edge of the billboard. Okay, like so. So this is a clever marketing way that is not original because I saw this on a McDonald's billboard and I just copied it. Okay, so once you're done, you can just hit save and see the changes being made on the final billboard. And that's how you should see, or people should see, your billboard mockup. Okay, so that is how you create a mockup from scratch using smart objects and using perspective warp or distortion. Okay, one more thing before we move on to the next the next part of this mockup project here, which is on digital billboard. What you can do right now, if you want to make this more realistic, is to go ahead in your image, okay, in your final billboard mockup here, select the rectangle. Okay, select the rectangle, which is the smart object. Right click on the rectangle and go to blending options. Okay, once you open up blending options, what you can do now is to play around with this value over here. So this value over here, which is the underlying layer here. So you can change the underlying layer over here by simply using Alt on your keyboard. So hit Alt, okay, and then click and drag to essentially separate these two handles here. So what you will do is when you have separated, you can just move this until you see your the original texture of the image being brought back up. So this is not just going to be a flat mockup that is very clean, white clean here. Well, realistically, a white billboard is not going to stay white forever, right? So if you want more realistic dust or dusty effect here, you can just play around with the underlying layer until you can bring up that grunginess just a little bit, and that's how it makes the mockup look more realistic. So it doesn't look as clean as just just a clean design. So hit OK, and that's how your mockup should look like at the end of the day. Okay, and you can save this. So this has more lighting to it. It looks more realistic because of the dusty effect that the mockup has. Alright, so once you are done, let me just go back here. Okay, once you are done, 26 minutes. Let's go and open up the next part of the project here, or the tutorial here, which is on digital billboards. Okay, so this is a digital billboard, and what I mean by digital billboard is a billboard that actually has a billboard that actually has a screen. Okay, so this billboard has a screen, and we're going to put in our mockup here, except the different thing is we are going to be using another tool to create this to create the mockup itself, instead of just using the simple shape converting into smart object. And also we're going to be adding some LCD screen effects here. Okay, what you can do now is to go ahead and on this file here, okay, this empty file here, select this button to add a new layer. So just add a new empty layer, and with this layer 1 here selected, I want you to go and open up filter and select vanishing point, or the shortcut is Ctrl Alt V. Okay, and it should open up this window here, and once it opens up this window, by default it's going to select the plane tool over here, or the perspective tool here, and you can go ahead and do your best to create 4 points on each end or each vertex or edge of the mockup or of this billboard here. Okay, so you can just select 1 to create the first point, go to the next point here, select your second point, okay, next point over here, third one, and then you can bring it back up over here, and that should create a perspective grid for you. Okay, a little bit about this perspective grid. It's more accurate, in which Photoshop recognizes this as a perspective grid, and your mockup will not be distorted no matter how you stretch it after this. But in vanishing point, there is actually a useful feature in which if you move, you can just click and move these points here. If you want to adjust it, for example, if you want to adjust it a little bit more like that, okay, it will move. The perspective will move, but Photoshop actually provides you 3 options. The first one is this grid here, which has a blue color. So if it's a blue color grid, then it means that your mockup or your perspective is working as intended. So everything is just working perfectly. Okay, if for example you move and then your mockup is yellow, so this is a yellow grid. When it turns yellow, it just means that Photoshop doesn't like this too much. If you put in your mockup, it's not going to work too fine, but it can still work. Okay, but it just means that you can do better to get that blue line there. Okay, and the next one is simply just a red line like this. Let me just do that. Okay, so this red line over here, if this one appears, it just means that if you try to drop in your design later on, it's not going to work. Okay, the perspective is distorted. Photoshop doesn't recognize this as a working perspective, so you have to adjust a little bit more until you can bring up this blue grid here. Okay, once you have the blue grid, everything should be working perfectly. And once you have refined your selection, or refined the shape and the positioning of this perspective grid, just hit OK, and that will confirm your perspective. Okay, so you should not see anything here because you haven't dropped the design yet. Now let's go ahead and drop in our design. So for this specific mockup, if you are using the vanishing point filter, you cannot use smart objects. Anything that you're going to put here, or you are going to paste into the mockup here, cannot be a smart object. It cannot have layers. It cannot be editable. Only pictures are supported in vanishing point filters. So pros and cons: if you want things to be editable, you can use the simple version, which is just to use your rectangle tool and then distort them into the billboard. Okay. And you can keep on editing this as long as it is a smart object. If you are using the vanishing point filter here, or the vanishing point tool here, you will have a more accurate positioning or more accurate perspective at the price of that smart object. It's not going to work with vanishing point filter. So you need to have an image. And how do you just use an image? You can do that by going to your design file again. Okay, it doesn't have to be a .psb file. For example, if you create your design in just a .psd file, or even if you just have an image, for example, just like this image over here, you can go ahead and just copy this image from Photoshop, from this Photoshop project, and then paste it into your digital billboard. Okay, so we're going to be pasting this. Okay, so this design, we're going to be pasting it into the digital billboard here. And to paste stuff in, what you can do, and what I recommend you do, is go to select and hit all. Okay, you will see a selection going all the way across your entire canvas. This means that everything here is selected, and if you copy, it's not going to copy the layers, it's just going to copy the image, because we only want the image. Okay, again, select and make sure to select all, and then go to edit and copy merged, or shift Control C. This will copy the image. Okay, and then once you're done, go back to the station billboard here, or the digital billboard here. Select your layer 1 again, the layer that you have the vanishing point filter. Okay, select that layer, go to filter, vanishing point, and hit Control V to paste. And it's going to fill up the entire thing. So you need to resize it, because this image is actually smaller than the actual design file that you have. So what you can do is hit Control T, or go to the free transform tool over here. Okay, and you can just make it smaller, like somewhere over there, maybe a little bit smaller. And you can keep on adjusting everything. Okay, and as you can see, if you have already resized, you can just drag and drop your design onto this billboard here, and it will automatically snap. Okay, except you have to resize it and make it smaller. Okay, for example, let me just resize this, make it smaller and smaller until it just fits. Okay, so that's how you do it. So make this smaller, except I'm not going to proceed with this part here, because there is one more part, which is to create the screen effect for this billboard. Okay, so I'm just going to cancel this first. Okay, so the way that you can create a screen effect on this billboard, as you can see in the sample file, is by using patterns. And how do you create patterns? So this is how you do it using Photoshop. Okay, first of all, leave your design as is. Okay, whatever you design that you have, just leave it here. Go to file, hit new. Okay, and then I want you to go ahead and create a new canvas that is 11 pixels by 8 pixels for the resolution. Okay, so it's 11 pixels wide and 8 pixels tall. Yes, it's going to be a very, very small canvas, and that is what we need. Okay, 11 by 8, hit create, and you cannot see anything by default, just something that tiny dot there. Okay, and to zoom into that dot, you can hit Control 0, and this will zoom into that dot. So this dot is your actual canvas. And what I want you to do now, okay, is go ahead and use the rectangle tool, and I want you to create a rectangle that is 6 units tall and 3 units wide. And how do you do that? So if you create a rectangle, okay, And for example, if I give a black color here, you can see these lines going across the entire shape here. This is because your canvas size is small enough that every single movement that you made is actually one single pixel. So this is 1 pixel, this is 1 pixel, this is 1 pixel, and 1 pixel. So what I want you to do is to just resize your rectangle and make sure it is 3 wide and 6 units tall. Okay, so like so, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Make it make it 6 unit tall, like that. Okay, so 3 units by 6 units. Once you're done, you can just try and place it at the center like that. Alright, once you are done, go ahead and change the color of the rectangle to red. Okay, so just a red color here. And then I want you to select this live round corners here and just round the shape up. Okay, and you should only be able to round this shape to 1 pixel. That is the maximum value because the canvas only allows for this one here. And if you have done this correctly, you should see the outline for the rounded rectangle, except you will still see the entire shape of the rectangle here. Don't worry, because you are working with a project file that is very, very small. This is going to happen. You will see a lot of things going well, not so good because of how small the canvas is. Okay, once you have this, rounded your rectangle, created your rectangle, and then rounded it off. Go ahead and select the selection tool again, and I want you to copy this rectangle another 2 times. Okay, so hit Alt on your keyboard, Alt, click and hold and drag to copy, and just put it side by side, and then do it one more time, like so. And once you are done, you should have 3 identical rectangles here. And for the other 2 rectangles here, I want you to change it to green for the middle rectangle and blue for the right side. So if you can guess, you can if you know, you can already guess where I'm going with this. So red, green, and blue is the basic building blocks for an LCD screen, and we are going to imitate those tiny dots of LCD that is present inside of a conventional LCD screen. Okay, so go to the shape tool and change this to blue. By the end of the day, you should have this over here. This will represent a single tiny dot on your screen. Okay, once you're done, you can just disable or delete the background layer. Make sure you don't have the background layer, or else your pattern will not work. So disable background layer. You should have something that looks like this. Once you are done, go to edit, okay, and find this option here, define pattern. And once you select define pattern here, it should prompt up with a window for you to name your pattern, and you can just name your pattern whatever you want. I'm just going to name this as LCD 4 or 5 because I've already created this pattern like 4 times already. Okay, so once you have given a pattern name, hit OK, and nothing should happen except your pattern has already been registered in Photoshop and you can use it on any other project. And we're not going to be using it on this project. You can just discard and just completely delete this project file. We're not going to be using the project file anymore. Now go ahead and open up the design file. So this is the original design file that you have, and what I want you to do over here is to go ahead and paste in the pattern. And to do that, for patterns, select this button to create a new layer, and make sure this new layer is on the very top. Okay, make sure to do this on the original design, not on the Billboard Mockup. Okay, this will only work on the original design file. So create a new layer, select the layer. Now go to edit, okay, and select fill, or the option or the shortcut key is Shift F5. This will open up this window here. By default, it should show foreground color. So change the contents from foreground color to pattern. And by default, the pattern should be some kind of like trees or grass. So just click on custom pattern here and select any well, I have 5 or actually 6 of these. Okay, you can just select any the pattern that you have created. So in my case, it's this one here. Okay, so that red, green, and blue pattern there, and make sure to check script, okay, because this is important for you to create that LCD effect for your design. And make sure to change this to brick fill. And once you have the settings like this, hit OK, and it should prompt up this option here. For this one, you can play around with all the values here, but the value that I recommend you to do is following this option here, which is pattern scale, set it to 1, everything else to 0, and offset between rows is 50%. So it creates that kind of, pattern. And once you are done defining or changing the settings here, this is where the magic happens. Hit OK, and the pattern will automatically be applied across your entire design, and it should look like an LCD screen. Okay, and once you have this, well, it's not completely, the pattern is actually covering the entire thing. So if you want to make your actual design pop out more, go to layer 1 here and just simply reduce the opacity a little bit, for example 60%, like that, and change the blending mode right beside the opacity slider from normal to multiply. And that's how, conventionally this is how you would see an LCD screen, like an old TV or something. Okay, and once you're done, you can go ahead and do the process that we did before. Okay, select, go to select and hit all to select everything. Make sure this selection is covering your entire design file here, or your entire canvas here. And then once you're done, go to edit and select copy merged. Okay, and once you have selected copy merged, this has already been copied. So just go back to your digital billboard here. Okay, select on layer 1. Okay, this is layer 1 here, and then go to filter, vanishing point. You should still have your original perspective there, and just paste your image or design. Okay, so just Control V to paste. Okay, and hit Control T to open up the free transform tool, and you can just resize this, make it a lot smaller. Okay, just make it smaller like that. Okay, and keep on resizing until it becomes small enough. I'm just going to keep on resizing and resizing until it is small enough for me to see. Okay, be as detailed as you want for this one here. If you want to proportionally resize, you hit shift. Okay, so because my shift key is not really working that well today, I don't know why, so I'm just going to resize this like so. Okay, make it small enough. Once it is small enough, okay, and you can see everything for your design here, like so, you can just click and drag onto your billboard and it should snap by default. Okay, because you already have that perspective going on. And once you're done, just resize this. And another key point here is that you don't really need proportional resizing. If you want to stretch your billboard a little bit or stretch your design a little bit, you can do that. It's not really going to look that weird for the most part, because billboards are, realistically billboards will be a little bit stretched in the final product. Okay, so once you are happy with the positioning and sizing, just hit OK, and everything should be applied there. And instead of just a flat design, it looks like an actual screen. Okay, so that's about it for today's tutorial. If you want to go ahead and change this a little bit more, you can do the same thing that you did with the previous project, which is to right click and open up blending options for layer 1 here, and just change the underlying layer a little bit, just to make sure that everything just looks a little bit more realistic. Okay, and you can also play around with the whites here, okay, instead of the blacks, if you just want, that kind of effect going on. Okay, once you're done, essentially you're done. Okay, 2 ways to create a billboard, and then 1 way to create a screen effect for your billboard if you are working with digital stuff. It doesn't have to be a billboard, it can be a TV, it can be a monitor, whatever you want for your mockup. Alright, so that is it for today's tutorial. I hope you can get something from this and work on your assignments. Again, the Google Drive link for the assets will be in the description, and if you have any questions, do not hesitate to just ask me. Okay, that's all for today. I guess I will see you in the next class. Thank you.